This is the Authentic Dating series brought to you by Ahmad and David,
where we explore what it takes to have a dating life you're excited about.
Hey guys, I'm David.
I'm Ahmad.
And this is the Authentic Dating series.
This podcast is for anyone wanting to better understand themselves, their feelings, and learn how to create beautiful relationships in their lives. In this first episode, we really want to give you a feel of who David and I are and what our experiences with dating is. So Dave, if you can just tell us a bit about yourself and what is your experience with dating?
Thank you, Ahmad. So my experience is that, I was a dating coach for a little while, which was an incredibly enjoyable experience for me. I've been pretty prolific in the dating world. I've been on easily kind of over 200 dates. But where it all kind of started for me was at the age of 16, kind of meeting a girl and totally falling in love with her and having an amazing relationship and losing my virginity and all those things, and then having my heart completely broken when we kind of broke up and went our separate ways at like 17 years old. But that age is just like means absolutely everything to you. So kind of fast forward a few months and I went off to university and just went there, the idea of just enjoying myself and studying really hard and learning a lot and just not really focusing on women at all. And kind of within my first term, finding that, I was meeting just so many people on a day-to-day basis and also meeting a lot of women and really getting along really well with them and find that they were actually quite attracted to me, much to my surprise at the time, and end up kind of dating and sleeping with multiple women, going from sleeping with one and being really honest and saying I don't really want a relationship. And before I knew it, like I said, I was kind of sleeping with multiple women, and this kind of became a bit of a pattern for my life, actually, throughout my life after that, where I was kind of going from dating multiple women to getting into relationships and kind of ending relationships and being single and kind of going back and forth. So what's kind of come out of that as well is that, with the dating coaching, giving a lot of advice to men for kind of easy over 10 years now, and coincided with along with that is also my career, my kind of day job in technology, which is not something you kind of associate with dating coaches traditionally. And it is a very different kind of world to that world I was doing now. But then a few years ago, now I decided that I wanted to kind of take a break from just kind of the London life and just kind of travel the world for a while. So I set off with my then girlfriend and the two of us traveled for a year together, and sadly we broke up from a great relation that we had, and went our separate ways, and I traveled on for 6 months on my own through kind of South America and into Central America. But what really I got out of that traveling was just the ability to really, and the experience of just connecting with people on a day-to-day basis, meeting people and just meeting some amazing people, interesting people, and learning a huge amount about just the human experience of life, but also connecting with people on the level where there's not that fear and concern of what do people think of you, who are they, what are you going to be like. It's just kind of connecting on a level of we're two human beings here who just want to talk to each other. It was just, beautiful. So many beautiful experiences. And I kind of come back to London and felt super connected to all my friends and what they were dealing with. And, this kind of looking back from that to where I was kind of, easily kind of 10, 15 years ago, where I was just feeling really like I didn't really know how I felt. I was having a lot of disconnected relationships, like I was saying, like sleeping with women, but not really feeling very connected to them and not really feeling a huge affinity, but just doing it because it felt like it's the thing that you should kind of do as a young man. To now, where I feel like super connected with myself and what I love and my own feelings most of all, and what I love doing, and also to the women that I meet now, really getting to know them and really kind of building that kind of like trust and connection between us. So of course, like I said, I love meeting people and of course women along the way through life, and it's been just amazing. I feel like I've lived an amazing life. But so to come back to the series, I've just been tangent talking about myself. But what I really feel like I bring to this series is being used to kind of having women in my life and being around women and having women that are kind of attracted to me and me being attracted to them, and also being used to kind of dating multiple women, also sleeping with women, and not being kind of deeply ashamed of that being my reality. But the flip side of that is that a lot of the time I've been really fearful around being in kind of committed relationships, but yet still kind of getting them and pushing past that. And to a certain degree, I still feel that fear even to this day. So AJ, enough about me. Where are you coming from?
Thanks, Dave. So actually, in contrast to David, I was super shy growing up, and my experience with women, I can only say I was very clueless up until my early 20s, and I'm now 34. The big change came for me was when I was at university, and there was a point where I became frustrated, upset at the fact that I just didn't feel that I had the balls to go out by myself and talk to people. And I was at university in Nottingham, university in the UK, and it's very well known for having a great party scene. And there I was, and I just felt like with all my friends that I had there, they were busy that night, and I couldn't go out, and I just felt stuck. And I actually broke down on the phone to a friend of mine, an old school friend of mine, on the phone, and was just like, I had to change. And so from that point onwards, there was like a fire in me, and I was determined to change. And I started like reading any advice online. I started attending courses and just challenging myself by going out there and pushing myself socially to speak to people. And it's actually just interesting because what comes back to me now is that some friends of mine at university at the time, they tried to sit me down. I wouldn't sit down, but they tried to sit me down and say, "Hey man, are you sure what you're doing is the right way? Because you're reading these things online and you're actually upsetting people." And I just remember thinking at the time, like, wow, like as I look back, but I remember thinking at the time, like, I just want to change like that. I didn't want to be frustrated anymore. I wanted to change. And then, the other thing that really helped me over the years was David, in fact. So David and I have known each other since high school. And Dave, you used to call me stiff.
Yeah, he was a bit stiff, he kind of almost like, he almost walked around like a bit of a robot, even the way he used to turn his head was stiff.
There you go. So I wasn't aware, but so I was very stiff back in high school, and in my personality and my expressiveness. From that point in university, I still had plenty of frustrations over the years as I learned to deal with my nervousness and overcoming that, and just all the rejections of going up to women in clubs and just being so overly nervous and coming across as just, I don't know what the right word is, but wet comes to mind. And yeah, just totally not in the right sort of frame, and definitely not what, anything like David was talking about his university experience. But, by doing that, I grew, I evolved, and I dated different women, not as many as Dave again, but I did go out there and I discovered my own way. And over time, things became a lot simpler. Eventually, I too, found myself in a position to be teaching other men. And along with David, we taught guys who were students to like successful businessmen, and even a few women along the way in regards to overcoming their troubles with dating. And I've always just believed that whatever I learn or whatever I achieve, I can teach someone else how to do. And in 2010, I created an event to teach men how to be more expressive and confident in dating. And David and I actually ran that event for 3 years. And more than anything, we did it because we like to help. And it was actually greatly appreciated by a lot of men, and even some women too. Sadly, though, we stopped that event when my mother died in 2012, and then I turned all my focus to family matters. So in many ways, I really feel like this podcast and what we're setting out to do here is a kind of reincarnation of what our intention was with that event, and trying to help other men out there who need help or feel like, they could use some guidance with dating. And what I'm bringing into this series is my personal experience of my journey of having been a guy who was incredibly shy, incredibly clueless, and being able to get to a point where I'm now in a position where I'm in a cool relationship. It really is fun. It's very fulfilling. I don't think I've ever had such a connected relationship before, where I just feel things are a lot easier and I can just express what I want, and she can express what she wants, and we're both very cool. I'm also bring in my understanding for any guy out there or woman who feels stuck and unfulfilled in who they are and or even in their dating life. And I just want to add as well, like, even though I've traveled this journey, I've come a long way in myself and stuff, I still can feel very nervous when I'm out and about. The only difference is now is that it just doesn't stop me as much as it would have in the past. And I'm just a lot freer in my life.
Definitely. Nerves never go away. Like, whatever you're doing, if you ever believe that, you're going to get to this heavenly place where you're not nervous or scared, that just doesn't go away. There's the fear and the worry and the nerves, they never disappear. They get a bit less, but you just react to them less. You kind of push through to do what it is that really matters to you and is important to you. So to give you a bit of an explanation about the podcast series and what to expect, we're going to be kind of exploring the idea of authenticity in dating and relationships. And it's like, we're just two guys, really. Two regular guys who've been on the journey of life and have just had a lot of experience in just living and doing things and failing and falling over and breaking and pissing people off and making people really happy all along the way. And we're just going to be here kind of, just sharing with you what we've experienced and what we've learned all over those years. But what we aren't is people who are going to come with all the answers to all your questions. What we wish to do really is just evolve a conversation and create kind of a space where we can just talk really openly and freely about what's gone on for us and what we see people dealing with out there in the world. Because what we see is there's a lot of kind of bullshit advice out there about do's and don'ts, and what you should and shouldn't say, and how you should and shouldn't stand, and what you should and shouldn't wear. And what we've seen is that actually a lot of that stuff doesn't fucking matter. And it just causes a huge amount of confusion out there of guys and women, this podcast isn't just for guys. Like, we're going to kind of aim at guys because we're guys and we've had the experience of being guys. But actually, we've learned already that women listen to us, men listen to us, people listen to us, and just get a lot from kind of hearing our journey and our experience. So yeah, AJ.
The other thing as well that really stands out for me is that we do hear a lot about how men aren't so expressive, especially amongst themselves, and I think that's perhaps something that I've been very fortunate to have in my life is friends like David, and I've got a few other friends where we're able to share openly and just share how we feel and what's going on. And so really, just to tie this up here, is that Dave and I, our aim here is we want to be of service by sharing our knowledge and experiences, and as Dave mentioned, evolve a conversation about authenticity in dating and what it means to us and what the benefits are, and helping men to have a better connection with themselves and their feelings, and ultimately leading them to be more expressive in who they are and what they want, which in our experience leads to having beautiful relationships.
So that's a little intro about us. So we kind of, we were talking a lot about what we want our first topic to be. And, we kind of thought, actually, the first thing we want to talk about is that dating isn't just about dating. And I know that sounds kind of crazy to say it is dating, it's not about dating. But actually, we've come more and more over the time that we've been having these discussions to realize that actually, like I said, dating isn't just about dating.
Yeah, it's like... In terms of like the whole dating world, people get really stuck on just like what to do, how to do, where to do, and then I think they completely forget the person that they are and how much that contributes to dating. So, in fact, one of the things that came up just earlier today, Dave and I were talking about a friend of ours who has recently got back into the dating game. And just shooting back and forth about his experiences, but by and large, like I think Dave, you mentioned, like what's his lifestyle like? Is he going out much? And because really, when it comes to dating, it's like your character, who you are, your person. Yeah, that's so much more. So yeah, what were you saying about that, David?
So it's like we were talking, and we were like, what is it? What is because people think about dating and they think about, okay, especially in this modern age, you've got like Tinder and all these online, Bumble and, all these things, right? And, people are meeting people through that. But there's that old school method, that thing that people used to do, like your parents used to do, is like meet people in real person, without internet, without their phones, is to meet people, and it's something that, you know, especially I, being kind of single right now, have really been exploring a lot in the way, like since I've been back from like travels like a year ago, in the last year. I decided that I wasn't going to just mess around with any of the kind of online platforms. I just didn't feel like it was true for me. It wasn't who I was to be kind of on my phone, swiping left and right and that kind of thing. And I just said, you know, I'm not really fussed about dating. If I meet people, that's cool. If I don't, I don't. You know, there's things in my life I want to do. But what I started to see more and more was that I was still meeting people all the time, like on a weekly basis, all over the place that I went, right? And, you know, like we were talking earlier, before we started recording, we were like, actually, your dating is a huge part of your dating is about your friends, like the people you know, the people you hang out with, and what they're like. You know, like if you'll spend every Friday night or, you know, 3 nights a week just going to the same pub, hanging out with the same 5 people, talking to the same 3 other people that are in the pub, and then going home, you're probably not going to be meeting too many women, right? Or for the ladies, too many guys, right? No. You're gonna be talking to the same people again and again. And your weeks will just pass by, and you're going to have the same thing happening to you again and again, right? That's what we were saying in AJ.
Yeah. And, what do you want me to add to that? No, so, but yeah, like, so friends are crucial, and not just, like with the lifestyle, but also with the kind of friends that you have. I really feel like if your friends are not supportive of, you know, you, and the girls that you're talking to, then that can make things a lot harder. Like, you've seen it so many times where people are out together and they're like friends and stuff, and then one guy gets talking to a girl, and then the other friend starts saying, oh, you know,
I want to go home. Like,
well, not even just that. Like, they start like, what are they used to like putting the other person down? You know, oh, he's not so cool. And that, and you know, that can really have an impact, especially if you know, these are your friends that you're meeting on a regular basis, and every time you go out and you want to talk to someone, that's how they are. Or you know what? Actually, the probably the most common one as well is guys that, you know, who are all single and they don't actually want to go and socialize and talk to women.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember very early on when Dave and I used to go out, you know, there would be other guys and stuff, and a lot of the guys would just hang around together. And I know Dave would always habitually just go off. You're like, you really just walk off.
Go for a little wander.
Yeah. And you know, it's something that I learned to do as well. Is that you have to break away. Otherwise, you end up in the vibe of those people. And I think that's the main thing here. Is what we're trying to say is when it comes to your friends and dating, like the people that you're hanging around with are really going to have an effect on who you are and how you are, because it's like an intermingling of energies. And so when you're frequenting people on a regular basis, even I was saying to David earlier at work, you like the word frequenting?
I like the word frequenting.
Okay, yeah, he's making a face at me. Frequenting, yeah, when you're frequenting people. But if the people you're predominantly hanging around with are not of the type to socialize and whatnot, then you yourself will not be so sociable. You'd really have to be, you know, have a much stronger vibe to break away from that. If that's what it's kind of like a learned behavior. Yeah.
It kind of, you see how it's kind of that group mentality, isn't it? Like if you're with some people and you're the lively person, you know, the talkative person who's very lively. If you're with like 6 people and everyone else is really quiet and shy and they just want to talk to each other and they're kind of hiding from the world or just observing what everyone else is doing, and you start kind of going out there and being a bit, you know, talking to people you don't know, doing stupid things, they're going to pull you back in. They're going to be like, hey, boy, come back in. What are you doing? But even if they don't do it with their words, they do it with their energy, you know, the disapprovingness and so forth. So the people you're around, the energy that they bring to life will really make a huge difference to how you are.
You know, actually, on that point, what I said in the introduction, you know, with my 2 friends who, when I started to break away from the herd, and wanted to create something new in my life, you know, their first reaction was to try and sit me down and say, hey, are you sure what you're doing is right? And on one hand, you see, they're not trying to, you know, it's not necessarily that they're trying to trap me or anything, but it's more of a case of like, you know, it's coming from a place of kindness. But then if I had followed them, or if I had followed their advice, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. You know, I would have stayed in that mentality. So yeah, it's friends. And I think it's one that gets overlooked a lot. Is the friends.
The people you're spending your time with, like, I see this with people that I meet sometimes, and like they tell me about their friend. They're like, oh, you know, things like, actually, to talk about myself, actually, like I'm sitting in this current reality, really, is like most of my friends have got girlfriends, long-term girlfriends, wives, or wives and children, right? Now, this doesn't stop me from meeting new people at all. Actually, I go out with my friends and we still do stuff, you know, like, you know, we were at this gallery thing the other night and we were just talking to people, you know, talking to random people at the bar and around the place, you know, and it was cool. It's like, you can still be about that, like about that kind of new people life, you know, even if your friends, you can't just go, oh, my friends have got girlfriends and wives, they never want to go out, so I'm just going to kind of, you know, sit at home and put my hands in my pockets, or I'll go around to theirs and we sit and watch TV. It's like, actually, everyone wants to do things, right? So be, as Gandhi said, I remember, I think it's a little card I had, it's like, be the change you want to see, right? So if you want this life of kind of being outgoing and having fun, create that around the people that, you know, you spend your time with.
Yeah, and actually, it's a good segue onto another important factor, which we find is lifestyle, hobbies, passions, interests. And you know, I know Dave does like his art. He likes his photography. You like traveling as well. I'm also an avid traveler. I also like photography. I'm
just better.
Huh? You're just better at it. Yeah, he thinks so. So. But and so having passions, I know this was something that you were very hot on, Dave. What were you saying?
Very passionate about passions.
Yeah, you're passionate about passions, but mainly traveling as well. But like, what did you want to say about that?
For me, it's like, I really got a bit of a bug when, you know, people say, oh, you know, you go traveling for the first time and you get rid of a bit of a bug. And I don't think that's always the case for people. You know, it depends how you travel. And I kind of define, there's holidays and there's traveling for me. Like, if you go on holiday, you go to a hotel, you sit on a beach and you do fuck all for however long you're at the hotel for, a week or two. Or, you know, people go and they do, that's a holiday to me, you know, because when I grew up, I remember going with my parents to like Jamaica, and that's what my mum wanted to do. She just wanted to sit and do nothing, right? Or when we're going to Tenerife for a friend of mine, and we just kind of, at a young age, were going to bars long before we should have been going. And that's a holiday. Like, my first proper trip, I kind of booked this tour, and we traveled through Russia, Mongolia, and China. And it was like, this is the first time I'd left the country without, you know, like a family member or a friend. I went on an organised tour, including 12 other random people I don't know. And for me, that was like some travelling, you know. I was going to foreign lands I had no idea about or what it would be like. And it was adventure, and it was adventurous to me. And from then on, I've always just loved to explore new places and explore new people and their cultures and what they're about.
And what would you say that's done for your dating?
Man, it's done everything, you know. Like, you know, in my travels, I've met some great people as well. You know, I've met some great women when I've traveled. Like, it's been, and I've had some great experiences. But also, what it gives me is I feel like it's built a huge confidence and the ability to kind of talk to people I don't know and don't even have anything in common with. Like, I remember having conversations in Russia. I remember being on this train, the Trans-Siberian train, if any of you have been on it. And on the train, and the woman that was running the food car, really tall, slim Russian woman, looked just like olive oil, if you ever remember watching Popeye. And she kind of had broken English, and we managed to have conversation after conversation about, I don't even remember what, right? About random things that were going on the train. But, you know, her English wasn't very good. I spoke about 10 words of Russian, but I was made to communicate with someone and have fun with someone, and we don't even share a language, really, you know? So you kind of take that into your day-to-day life when you come back, and you're not, you know, on your travels, but also when you're on travels, you're constantly meeting people. You're just constantly meeting new people. You're saying hello. You're having that first conversation that you have with people, that first 2 minutes of getting to know people again and again and again. So for me, I think it's meant that if you put me in a room full of people I don't know I've got something to say. I've got something to say to anybody, right? Because I've traveled all over the place. You know, my go-to thing is I probably talk about a lot of my own travel stories. Or if I meet someone from a country that, if I hear an accent, you know, I'm instantly like, hey, where are you from? Because I'm actually interested. Not I'm like, oh, where are you from? You know, because I'm just making up words and trying to find something to say. But, you know, if I hear someone and I hear, say, maybe a Spanish accent, I'm thinking, oh, are they Spanish? Or are they South American? And I just see that it's just enabled me to my own kind of ability to have conversation. And also it's because it's something I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, so traveling is definitely something that's like enhances anyone's dating life, I'd say, because it just makes you more able to relate to different people. And the experiences, the stories that just naturally unfold from traveling, from going to different places. But also, I mean, other than traveling, there's also there are other hobbies. Hobbies.
Yeah. Guys, you don't all have to. If you can't afford to travel and like see amazing places,
there are other
it's
hobbies.
Not as expensive as you think it is.
But the thing is as well, I mean, I think you get a sense from it, from the way David just talked about his travels, is the passion that comes from traveling, or any activity that you do that you're passionate about. And this is something that was, something that became really obvious to us, when we used to coach guys, and they would struggle with talking. And really what it was they were afraid to discuss what their passions were. Yeah. And because when like some people are like, oh, you shouldn't talk about chess, but if you're passionate about chess, and then why not talk about chess? Like, yeah. And of course, all right, you like people go, but that's geeky, or this is people won't be interested. But the funny thing is like when you're passionate, you speak in a way that people are interested. And lo and behold, you'll probably find yourself a girl that likes chess.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this is one of the keys of being authentic, is really being real with who you are and what you like, as opposed to trying to be someone for everyone. So for David, he loves traveling, amongst other things. But yeah, I think that's the main thing really about having the hobbies is and having things that you're passionate about, is that your life isn't just about work. And then so when people say, what do you do outside of work, you're just like, I watch TV.
Yeah, I watch Netflix. Like, I feel like we've moved into this weird universe now. And I think it couldn't really hit me because I was away for kind of 2 years, because I came back and everyone was watching Netflix all the time. And you go into, I started work and people would be like, yeah, I spent my whole night. Oh yeah, I smashed through that series last night. And I think, you spent the whole night watching TV. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, nothing wrong, nothing bad if you want to do that, right? But I do like watching Netflix, but I don't spend every evening of my week watching Netflix. Like, I like to do a varied amount of things. And one of the things that we haven't even really said here is saying, we're talking about passion, but actually, if you go out and do things like, like I like yoga. Like, I got into it about a year or so ago, but actually you meet loads of people doing it as well. Because you go there and you're like, you go there weekly, or you do your thing, you meet people, and you're meeting people again. And, if there's people, there's men, there's women. Like, even if, I used to love going to the gym. It's not something I do so much these days. But again, I met people when I was there. I used to have conversations with people. We used to have a laugh and joke and stuff like that. So it's all in the kind of aid of doing things you're passionate about, because you're also going to meet loads of people there, right? Who could easily just become good friends of yours because you share interests. Yeah,
I haven't mentioned much about mine, but like one of the things that I do, which is a bit out there, is free running, or some people call it parkour. And again, you go there and it's a group activity. You naturally meet people, you naturally make friends with people who are also interested. And that is, I think that's one of the keys really when you have hobbies. And see, what this brings to your dating is it gives you stuff to talk about. It gives you character, it gives you personality. It makes you unique and interesting.
Yeah, and also it just means that, you're living in what you love. You're doing what you love as well. Like, it's not to be overlooked, doing the things that you love doing. Because a lot of people spend their time, going to work, or, having to look after family, or traveling in and out of work, but doing things they don't really love doing. So, really what we're saying here is spend some of your week doing what you really love doing.
Yeah, and again, Dave, a very good segue into another key point.
Boom, I'm on fire today.
Yeah, he is. Attitude. That's what really stands out to me here is, and again, it's something you were mentioning earlier about people's attitude. The way they do one thing is a way to do everything, and it's definitely something we've seen in dating and how people approach dating, but also how they approach socializing in general, or how they approach doing their work, and how they approach life.
I think you just want to be, and I know some people say, there's introverts, there's extroverts. And I'd say that, I actually have it for myself that I'm quite an introvert naturally. I grew up, I was quite a quiet child, really. My mother would tell you stories of, I barely spoke for like the first 8 years of my life. I didn't really speak very much. They were really concerned about me. And it's only really kind of got into my teens and I kind of grew into myself, as they say, as a man. But I feel like I can quite happily be in a room with people and not really say anything sometimes. You know, you've seen me in that way where, but then there's other times I feel like, I want to get involved. But the attitude you really want to be bringing into your life, really, with life is get involved. You know, like
That's
I always be giving an analogy about football, right? And I know AJ loves football so much. But, you know, you go to a football game, right? And there's 60,000 people watching the football game, right? If you go to a nice stadium like the Emirates, you know, wonderful stadium down there.
I've actually been there to that one.
Yeah, it's nice though.
The one football game I've ever been to is at the Emirates. I'm a faux Arsenal fan.
He has some faux things he does. We'll get into this.
Yeah.
So, you know, you go to the game. There's 60,000 people watching, right? And there's 60,000 of them have opinions and thoughts and feelings about what the 22 people on the pitch are doing. But you know the difference between the 22 and the 60,000? Those 22 people, they're in the game. They're playing the game.
Yeah.
They are doing shit in the game.
I wonder where you were going with this, but yes.
You like this one?
Yes.
They're in the
Very
game,
good,
you know.
yeah.
They're playing the game. They're involved. And, you know, if you're, you know, even if you're like an after work drinks, right? You're at after work drinks and you're all standing around and you're watching some guy who's talking to some girls and you're like, oh, look at that guy. Oh, look, he's talking to some girls. He must think he's some person, blah, blah, blah. You're just another observer. Stop observing in your life and get involved in your life.
Yeah, that's valid. So a couple more points actually that we thought was important. And this one, I mean, when we consider this one, David was like, "Nah, really?" And I was like, "No, man, I've heard some stories." So dating isn't just about dating; it's also about health and hygiene.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, and actually, for any female listeners, probably would be more aware of this than the male listeners. But yeah, there's, you know, I've heard numerous stories from even my current girlfriend. She's told me some stories of some of her exes that I won't go into. I think it's a bit too gross. But yeah, like simple things about health and about hygiene. So, you know, looking after yourself, cleanliness, smelling nice. I think I'm trying to simplify here without having to go into too much detail, but I think you get the idea. It's like, but actually looking after yourself and your own presentation, it makes a big impact because that's it's your expression. It's who you are and it's what you're saying to the world. So if you're happy to go out without, you know, washing and using deodorant, then, you know, don't be surprised if people are offended by your smell, and if people are running away from you. So that's definitely one thing. And then on the health side, it's like taking care of yourself. Whether it's going to the gym, or I don't really go to the gym that often or as often as I should, because I'm doing this sport parkour and it keeps me very fit. But it like we were discussing this about climbers earlier, in terms of like how when we went climbing last time, I noticed how a lot of the regular goers, they're so relaxed and chilled, and I really just get a sense of what it is to be active. When you're active and you're doing stuff like, you know, Dave says he doesn't go gym anymore, but you do yoga and you play football from time to time.
Yeah, so I'm like yoga, football, running.
Yeah,
as well. And, you know, I go to your parkour class.
And you just as well. Yeah, and you just feel confident in your body, you know, and you give off a different vibe. So when you take care of yourself, you give off a different vibe, and that's really important. So I think the final one, Dave, is we're talking about clothing, and we thought it was a bit of a tricky one because we can't really give advice on how to dress. Yeah. But, you know, I was thinking about it's an expression of who someone is, and that you should feel comfortable in what you're wearing.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, we're out here and we're expressing who we are to the world. Like if you say, you know, here sometimes, you know, you say don't judge a book by its cover, but you know, I wish it was the truth. Actually, I don't really wish it's the truth, because it's kind of goes two ways, right? This is your expression of who you are to the world. And it's something you completely have control of, right? In terms of how you look. If you walk out your house looking like a slob, like you just, you know, your clothes are dirty and you're ill-kept and things like that, then, you know, people are going to react to you in that way, basically. You know, they're going to react to you as that sort of person, unless you're bringing some sort of really incredible energy to the world when you're stepping out looking like this. You know, people are going to relate to you as possibly being, you know, some sort of, they might think you're homeless even. You know, it could get...
It's not a bad thing, but, you know.
Yeah. There's that one story, that guy.
Yeah.
but how you dress, make it an expression of who you are. You know, like, yeah. Go on. What are you going to say?
Oh, no. I was just going to say, if that's it, we'll wrap it up there. And in conclusion, what are we saying here? Dating isn't just about dating. Dating's about it's a lot. There's a lot of your dating success will come from your lifestyle, how you spend your time, what you do with your time, and who you hang around with. From my point of view and my experiences, it just gives me character, it gives me personality, it gives me something to actually talk about when people ask me about myself. I have things to say. If I had no interest, if I never read any books, if I never did anything, then there would be nothing. I'd be like a vacuous, nothing to say, and and then there's run the risk of just asking the other person a whole bunch of questions and never knowing anything about anything, never being worldly, never having an opinion on anything either.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really important that you live your life and you seize your life and you make the most of it. Because when you go out and you meet a woman or your preferred sexual partner, that you're able to build a connection off of your passions and what you love, and you actually attract someone that is someone that you would like to spend time with.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say, Dave, to close this off?
Yeah, I just feel like, what you do with yourself is a huge reflection to the world of who you are. But also, if you're doing things if you're following your heart and you're following your passions, then you're just going to feel better about yourself. You're going to feel more confident. You're going to feel more loving. You're going to feel more connected with who you are than if you spend every night, you go home and sit and watch Netflix. Like, there's nothing, we say it again. I said that again, didn't I, about Netflix? I got nothing against Netflix. I've got a subscription.
I'm glad you said that.
And I'm a big fan of some of the shows. We'll give them recommendations later. But, do varying things, It's an expression of who you are. To the world, and I really recommend that we're probably going to go into some of these points a bit more like later on in the series, but yeah, just be out there.
So that's it. That's our first episode. Thank you so much for listening, and please subscribe if you've enjoyed.
So go and subscribe, iTunes, Spotify. It's going to be all over the regular podcast places. And yeah, if you've really loved it and someone who you feel like what we've said has really helped them and what they're dealing with in their life or their dating life, share it with them, friends, family, on your wherever. Just give it to people who you think is really going to help.
Yeah, we're planning to be very prolific with the content here. We've got a lot to say, as you can probably tell. We've got a lot to share. This is just the beginning. So really do. And actually, we really want to hear back from you. If you have any questions, please get in touch. You can find us on Instagram or on Facebook at Authentic Dating Series, or by going to our website at www.authenticdatingseries.com.
And if you've got any questions, or if you just want to hit us up and ask us something, or something you feel like you'd really love to hear our opinion about, hit us up on the channels that Ahmad just told you. And thank you again for being here.